Hi there, welcome back to the channel, and as you can see my Enyaq is outside in the rain, which means that today something a little bit different. Not sure if you can see what it is yet, but more will be revealed in a second. So, as I'm sure you've managed to figure out, I'm in an ID Buzz. So, the Enyaq is based on the MEB platform. The ID Buzz is based on the MEB platform. It's basically the same drivetrain, the same chassis in old language, and the same motor. So, I thought it'd be interesting just to see what it's like to drive the Enyaq's bigger cousin. This is, I think it's a first edition, not sure. It's my neighbour's. He's had this now, he's been driving it and has racked up 7,000 miles. He loves it, drives it as his daily commute, and absolutely loves it to bits. But I think he has them on lease or whatever deal he's got them on. He's got them on for a certain amount of mileage, and he's enjoyed this so much, he's drifted it so much. He's kind of coming up to the time where he's got to hand it back and change it for something else. So I thought I'd better get in and drive it while I can. As well as driving an Enyaq, I do have a VW Transporter, a T6, my dirty diesel secret. It's a camper van. And so looking to the future, I'm wondering, actually, could the Buzz, not at the moment because I think it's too small, but could that in time be a suitable replacement for my Transporter? So it's not just idle curiosity really. The famous Volkswagen infotainment system, again it's the same setup as the Enyaq really, similar software although it's slightly different skinned, but if you've driven an Enyaq you'll pretty much be familiar with this. I'm not sure, I don't want to mess with my neighbour's screen setup. I don't know if you can edit it in the same way as you can with the Enyaq, where you can place widgets in different places. So I've got his setup at the moment. In all it's very similar, different colour scheme and so on obviously, but all the same things that we're used to on the Enyaq. The auto regen, yeah, that's working just the same. So that Volkswagen in front pulled out. I didn't touch the brakes. The auto regen has slowed me down. Climate control, because we're starting to mist up a little bit in here. Okay, that's not quite as intuitive. Ah, there are sliders down here. Okay, so that's... I do actually think I prefer the Enyaq's setup. It's certainly easier to spot while you're on the move. Again, I'm sure once you're used to this it would be second nature, but right now I'm not seeing where I can do things like increase the fan speed if it's not already on auto. Yeah, this is really, really easy to drive. Controls are all in the same places so far. Wipers and so on slightly different.
Please wait.
I didn't ask you to do anything. I don't even know what the trigger word is. It's not Laura.
Please wait a moment.
It's the same voice as Laura.
Pardon?
Demist the windows.
Sure, defogging the front windscreen.
Okay. Maybe you're supposed to do it all by voice. Maybe it knew that I was struggling to find the defogging. I've still no idea what I pressed there or said. I'm doing it again. Cancel.
Okay.
Yeah, so 5 miles in and 33 miles an hour average. It's doing 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour. That's alright. I think on my car I'd probably be up closer to 4. on this journey. One thing I do notice, amazing how fast you get muscle memory developed. But on my car I've got the flappy paddles, so approaching this junction I would be relying on the auto regen, but if it wasn't going strong enough, and this wasn't, then I would be using the flappy paddles. But I've had to remember I don't have those and use my foot. I've no doubt if you spent more money then the paddles would be an option, as they were on the Enyaq in fairness. Right, AC is off. There's the AC button there. So it's on auto. Now in fairness, to do a similar range test or range comparison, I'll take it off auto. On my car I usually leave the fans on at about 1 like that, put the AC on, and then we can come back out of it. As I say, it's all very, very similar, but obviously the software has just been laid out slightly differently. One thing that's really, really good, this cabin is so big and airy. You'll have seen photos and videos of the ID Buzz. You got the same sort of long dashboard area that you have in, say, the Enyaq, quite a long dash. But actually I think it's even longer. It just dips away in front, so it looks about the same from where I'm sitting. But these front windows at the sides here, which very much a sort of nod back to the 1960s split screen transporters. They really do help with the visibility there. It's really very, very good. But yeah, that economy is stubbornly sitting at around 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour, so as you'd expect, it's a big old lump of metal. It's not aerodynamic, and so I can't expect it to be getting the same as the lighter and surprisingly efficient Enyaq. Yeah, just the same as the Enyaq, it would bring itself to... It's bizarre, every time I say Enyaq, the digital voice assistant kicks in. Cancel.
Please wait.
Oh no.
Pardon?
Cancel.
Cancel.
So what I was saying was, same as the Enyaq, coming up to that T-junction, the auto regen brought the car quite nicely to a slow speed, and then I just had to use the foot brake to bring it to a complete halt. I'm not quite sure why I seem to randomly be able to trigger the voice assistant. As I say, I'm not sure what the key word is. I've got a funny feeling it is the ID. Yeah. Cancel.
Cancel.
Yeah, it's those two letters, so I'll try and avoid saying anything about the name of the car. So there we go, up to 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour. I had a little bit downhill and obviously getting some regen on that, so it's brought it up. Again, I think that's quite acceptable for something this size. This sort of trip, like I say, on the Enyaq I'd be getting about 4.1. Factor in a bit of rain today as well, and yeah, I reckon that's quite respectable. On this lovely twisty country roads, this thing is really, really nice to drive. Doesn't feel like you're driving a big old lump of van at all. Yeah, and it's nippy off the start, off the line, so pulling out of junctions there, no problem at all. I didn't have to sneak out in a tight spot there, but if you were having to, yeah, it's got plenty of pickup, as you'd expect from an EV. Oh yeah, look, you can edit the screens if you want. You can put more widgets in, that's fine. I'll not do that. Like I say, I wouldn't like it if someone got in and rearranged my dashboard, so I'm not going to do it to my neighbour. Long term, he's been getting 2.3 miles per kilowatt hour, so he's doing a lot more work with driving to and from work. So he's nearly done 8,000 miles there. this is, yeah, it's down on what I'd expect of the Enyaq for this trip, but not massively. For comparison, I used to drive, before the Enyaq I had a Model 3, before that I had the Nissan Leaf 40 kilowatt hour, and it would do about 3.5 on this trip. So for a big old lump like this, compared with a Nissan Leaf saloon car, or hatchback rather, this is not too shabby at all. Pretty impressive. Obviously it's slightly different on this from the Enyaq. I keep looking down here, but there is nowhere down here to select the drive mode. It's all up here on the stock. So twist forwards for drive, backwards for reverse, just kind of what you'd expect. Although obviously in the Enyaq you push forwards to go backwards, which is slightly counterintuitive. And then there's a button on the end there you press to go to park. So we've done 12 miles, 31 miles an hour as you've seen on country roads, 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, a little bit worse than the Enyaq. So a little bit more of a view of the inside. As you can see, the dash, as I said, is that lovely wood effect, and then the yellow all the way around inside. That really suits it. It's that kind of summery feel about it, despite the weather outside. The back, it's got a bench seat there, split 60/40, same as most other cars these days. Loads and loads of room in the back, absolutely loads of room. And then behind that, obviously a fairly enormous boot, which I'm not going to go out and show you just now. No, it's really well finished out, and it's really nice and light. It's kind of similar to the grey I have in the lounge fitting of my lounge trim of my own Enyaq. One thing I haven't played with, I think there's been plenty of commentary on YouTube, these haptic feedback. I can't really comment on those. They don't, yeah, there we go, there's the voice commands. Yeah, they're alright, there's nothing wrong with those. They click similar to the real buttons, if you like, on my Enyaq. I take it this does the different views. Yep. Then we've got the latest version of the MEB software. I think this is 3.1, 3.2, I'm not quite sure, but it gives you all the stats there on screen, which is really handy. I can't wait for my Enyaq to get that. Yeah, there you can see the latest stats. So all good. And then down here, some big cup holders. Now these are proper cup holders, not like the small ones you get on the Enyaq. So if people have got bigger cups, they're complaining on the Enyaq, yeah, this is the place for you. What's this? Doors? I think that opens the rear doors. Yeah, electric doors. So that's a sliding door opening. Very clever. I'll close that again. It's wet. And it beeps to warn people that the door is closing. Okay, so I was just wondering about how to get into Android Auto. So on the Enyaq, normally there's a little menu you can bring up from the bottom, but obviously not on the ID. You can't go in there. Well, that's all good stuff. So you have to go into the main menu. There you go, into the main menu, hit Android Auto, up it comes. Although that's interesting, unlike the Enyaq where the menu bar for Android Auto goes down the right hand side, on this one it goes along the bottom of the screen, which is a bit different. Not sure why that might be. I guess it's because it's reserved, the Enyaq reserves the bottom portion of the screen, and therefore Android Auto is putting it up the side, whereas this van is putting it down the right hand side, and therefore Android Auto is claiming the bottom part. But either way, you've got all the same sort of stuff. You can go for full screen maps, you can go for Spotify, you can go back into your maps there, you can bring up all your different apps that you have. There we are. I can go into Format Auto and I can watch some TV, BBC News, so all the same sort of things you get on any other Android Auto, but these big screens that they fit in the Volkswagen Group cars really are ideal for it. Better route planner, all the usual stuff. Right, it's miserable weather, no point hanging around here, time to get back on the road and we'll see how it works on the motorway. So at this point I was telling you all about how the drive had gone, how the economy had performed, all that sort of thing, but unfortunately my microphones had packed up, so none of it was recorded. However, what I can tell you is that I really enjoyed the drive. It drove very much like the Enyaq. You certainly didn't feel you were driving a big heavy vehicle. It was a real pleasure to drive. And yeah, it was less efficient. It did 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour. And on the way out I was on A and B roads. On the way back I was on the motorway. And on that trip, normally on the Enyaq at this time of year in the summer, I'd be getting between 4 and 5 miles per kilowatt hour. So 2.9 is quite a bit less than that. However, that's not the point of the ID Buzz. It's really not designed to be efficient. It's a bigger vehicle, it's a heavier vehicle, and it's certainly not aerodynamic. But I absolutely loved it. It drove brilliantly. It was real fun. Certainly I noticed when I was coming through some of the towns and villages, people stopping, kids in particular pointing and staring, smiling and waving. So a really good, fun vehicle to drive. What a cracking looking vehicle. I just love it. It's brilliant. And this colour, like I say, it didn't really work on things like the Golf and the ID4. But for some reason, maybe it's the white combination, it really works on this. And I love the electric doors. You can see in the back, loads of room for passengers, tray tables there, and in the back, an enormous boot. Anyway, look at the size of this. This is absolutely enormous. Loads of space under there. These are up on a little hydraulic ram there. Lots of hooks there for your bags in the back, 12-volt outlet. And look at these little details here. I love it. They've really gone to town with the styling. Just these little details everywhere. And the same sort of coverage you get in the Enyaq. Not quite the same. Anyway, what else can you say? It's an enormous boot. And obviously, something that size, electrically closing as well. So what are my conclusions about the ID Buzz? Well, in case you hadn't guessed from my previous comments, I really liked it. I absolutely love driving it, and I really do thank my my neighbour Paul for letting me borrow his car. Much appreciated. Will I be buying one? No. It's actually quite a high price point for me, significantly more than the Enyaq, although it is a different vehicle, different type of vehicle. I can see it doing really well for families, maybe got 2 or 3 kids, especially now there's a 7-seater variant out. I can also see it doing really well in the commercial market where ultra low emission zones are coming in increasingly and people need electrification in cities. It'll do really well there, I'm sure. But for me, it's not something I'm going to buy at the moment. However, like I say, I do have a Volkswagen camper van, and I'm really interested to see in the future what happens with the MEB platform on that front, because the Transporter is going to cease production in the relatively near future, and I'm sure electrification on the MEB platform or successor platforms is on the roadmap. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video, something a bit different for this channel. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications, and I will see you in a future video soon.